You are listening to the Bills Blitzkrieg podcast. I'm Jake, here with my co-host Zach. Unfortunately, our multimedia maestro Fred is unable to be with us this week. Had some, very important fatherly duties. So we'll hope to see him back next week. For this pod, all I really want to do is fawn over the Matt Milano signing, bringing back those chiseled from marble Greek god biceps into Buffalo. But I have saved a little bit of love for Darrell Williams, the Feliciano signings. And also, right before we hopped on here, we're recording this on Tuesday. Just hit record at 7:30. Starting to get some news about an Emmanuel Sanders signing. So this is going to throw a little bit of a wrench in what I expected to talk about, but going to add a little of excitement to what the offseason is looking like. A lot of people were sitting around waiting. It's like, when's this big signing? When's this big signing going to happen? We're all expecting this big signing. This might be the one. But first things first, before we get into the weeds here, time to crack some cold ones. What you sipping on over there, Jackson?
Yeah, buddy. Tonight I am sipping on another what I would consider to be staple, Dogfish Head 60-minute IPA. That was one of the first ones I probably ever had. There's not much to say about it other than it's a staple in the IPA world. It's another grocery store beer. But I am a fan tonight. I will say we did try to record this podcast last night. Ran into some technical issues, but I just want to give an honorable mention and shout out to Racket River Brewing. I had a hot pepper ale. I think mostly made with jalapenos, and it was very smooth, very lovable, very drinkable. And it is located in the Adirondacks here in New York State, a little ways away from Buffalo. If you ever see them, grab a 4-pack or just an individual beer. Good things all around. Dogfish Head and some super, super small breweries like Racket River Brewing. Anyhow, what do you got, Jake?
Yeah, I love that you shouted out Racket River because for full disclosure, we have a good friend that's doing some good work out there. If you ever go down the Racket River out in Tupper Lake, make sure you send some love to the gangly guy with a mustache. Really beautiful bastard he is. He's making some great beers up there too. Good food, great location right there in the Adirondacks. Haven't been able up there to go see him and try some more. Unfortunately, we don't get him out here in Western New York. It'd be nice if they distribute a little bit up here so I could support him. But always good stuff. And it's always a joy when he can bring me something to sample on that he's brewing.
Yeah, and we're not going to say his name on the podcast, but if you describe him to anybody that works there, as Jake just did, they'll know exactly who you're talking about. Hopefully he's working, and he'd give you a nice little tour of the brewery. But what do you got? What are you sipping on tonight, fella?
Because we had those technical issues, I brought out my best one. Luckily, I always buy two whenever I see Fat Orange Cat, which I did here. So I have the Fat Orange Cat. Let me pull up I threw the can on the ground. I'm spilling a little bit here. Fat Orange Cat, The Dazed and Confused Teenage Kittens. It's kind of based off the Dazed and Confused movie. This is with a Hoof Hardy.
Love that movie.
Oh,
that's like top 5 for me.
All right. But it's delicious, nice and dank as they marketed it right up front. And then it finishes like a good stone fruit, maybe even like a melon note to it from the hops. Hop to the teat, hazy, thick, good mouthfeel to it. I'm never disappointed. I feel like every time I get a Fat Orange Cat beer, it's even better than the last one. And then working with Hoof Hardy can only have the highest expectations. Those are two of the best Northeast style IPA brewers in the Northeast. So I was pretty excited. Just walked up to my local grocery mart, grabbed it, enjoying it tonight. Ooh. Enjoyed it last night. Wish I had another.
That's big. That's a big claim. Best brewer of the IPA in the Northeast. I mean, that's pretty hefty.
I'm
not saying that you're wrong. Yeah, I'm not saying that you're wrong. It's just there's a pretty enormous amount of competition in the Northeast for IPAs. I mean, it's kind of our thing. West Coast has their own style, but I would say Northeast is definitely kind of the dominant style within the beer market today.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say I like Alchemist. I love their Heady Topper is a landmark. The Elena is a landmark.
Sunshine.
Treehouse. I mean, I think you can put probably Treehouse above anybody, but besides maybe those two landmark breweries, they do some damn good stuff. If you see them out in your market, I always grab it when I see it. It's always worthwhile. A little bit expensive. You usually got to pay about $6 a can for it. But buy one. You can sit down, you sip on it, and you enjoy it. I always love them.
Nice, nice. And speaking of beer, so as Jake said earlier on, we're recording this on Tuesday, March 16th. Hopefully it will be out tomorrow on the 17th, which is the good old Irish Catholic holiday of St. Patrick's Day. So we figured we would continue with our, really, this is kind of the second time we're doing it, but I think we might continue to do it, is our food debate. And this may not necessarily be a debate, but we want to talk pastrami and corned beef. We're matching them up together, although they are kind of similar, but not really. So we'll jump right into it. I'm going to get into some nerd talk for a second. We'll talk about the origin of pastrami.
We got our chef
it's
on
thought
the
to
line.
be from, yeah. Well, I was when we first talked about this topic, I was pretty curious myself about how, or at what the difference of the two cuts of meat are. They're both great on their own, but they're also great in a sandwich. They seemed pretty similar, so I really just wanted to dive a little deeper on what pastrami and corned beef are. So the origin of pastrami is thought to be Romanian or from Turkish origin, and corned beef is obviously from Ireland. That's why it's kind of, the centerpiece of the holiday as far as cuisine goes. Lots of places and lots of people buy up the corned beef, or you can go out and get a great corned beef sandwich anywhere. Just get the boiled dinner. And that's, from his Irish roots during the holiday of St. Patrick's Day. So corned beef comes from the brisket. Pastrami is made from a cut called deckle, a lean, wide, firm shoulder cut, or the navel, a smaller and juicier section right below the ribs, for anybody that cares.
It sounds sexy.
So I know. Yeah, it all sounds great, but they're so different. Anyway, preparation was really where I was the most confused, because that's when it comes down to separating the difference between the two cuts of meat. So both go in a brine and use pretty much the same spices and basically just water within that brine. But the difference comes from the cooking method. Pastrami is smoked with, generally like just your salt and pepper rub on there. That way it transfers right into the meat, and you get, a nice crust that forms on there through the smoking process. And corned beef is just boiled with a bunch of spices, which is super weird. And I thought it was super weird until I had it, and my mind was blown. But anyway, now that we've got that little bit of nerdy shit, as I'll say, out of the way, do you have any preference, Jake?
I don't think I've ever had legitimately smoked. The only pastrami I've ever really had is that, greasy deli pastrami that you mix into an Italian combo. I've never really gotten to have a good Jewish pastrami that's nice and smoked, and it's, and it kind of looks like a corned beef. So I don't feel like I'm going to weigh in on this debate. I do love corned beef. I only ever really have it when the season arrives, in the holiday season. But I do wish it was a more regular meal. It's a nice way to prepare a lower end cut, and it's always really tasty. And you were telling me it's something I could probably do at my house with what kind of a cut of beef would you probably recommend to do a corned beef with?
Well, corned beef is exclusively made out of brisket.
Okay.
And you can use different parts of the brisket. And it really, at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. As long as you brine said part of brisket in a brine with, I can't remember what the spices are off the top of my head. It's a few different ones, but they're not like your general spices that you use day to day for the most part. But yeah, no, you can pick up a brisket if you really are feeling froggy, and you can brine it yourself and cook it up and boil it yourself. But, this time of year too, corned beef is dirt cheap at just about any grocery store you go to. So as a beginner, that's what I would do. I'd pick up some sort of brisket corned beef from the grocery store, already in the packet, already brined. Comes with a little seasoning packet. All you do is boil it for about 3 to 4 hours, and it's ready to go.
Any way and anywhere I can slow cook some meats, and any different way I can slow cook some meats, I'm down for it year round. So I might have to start adding that in. When I'm sick of smoking pork butts, make some corned beef.
Yeah, but like you said, I believe corned beef has a place at the table all year round. I truly love the stuff. If I had to peg pastrami and corned beef against one another, I think I would probably choose corned beef like 7 out of 10 times.
Yeah. Well, I feel like after you've described it, I feel like I need to go down to New York City, the good old classic Jewish deli, and try some pastrami, some like home smoked pastrami, because it sounds fucking fantastic, and I feel like I've been deprived just eating that slimy stuff from Subway. I gotta have some authentic stuff.
I hear you. Yeah. No, I'm in the same boat, but if anybody who's out there listening has any preference between the two. If you have a major argument that hasn't already been brought up here tonight, let us know. Or even if it has been brought up, let us know what your feelings are. Maybe we'll run a little poll tomorrow on the old Twitter account, and you can vote on that.
I like it. Hot takes. Time for some hot takes. Pastrami.
Yeah, let's hear them. So we'll segue into that, since we both kind of, especially me, have shared our hard feelings on corned beef and given the listeners a little knowledge. We'll jump into what's going on around the league. I'll segue this with Drew Brees. He announced his retirement after a pretty illustrious 40-year career. He will no doubt land in the Hall of Fame. It's really just a matter of time, but they can't sit in the Hall of Fame while they're still actively playing. He's had 13 trips to the Pro Bowl, 2 AP Offensive Player of the Year accolades, a 2006 Walter Payton Man of the Year honor, 80,358 yards passing, 571 touchdown passes. And of course, can't forget when he saved New Orleans with the 2009 Super Bowl victory with the Saints. It was not shocking to see that he retired. I think it was kind of expected at this point. Even with the age that most quarterbacks can get in the league these days. But it was also no surprise to see that he will be immediately, not necessarily going in the booth, but he will be, reaffirming his love for football in a different way. And he will be starting at NBC Sports in the fall. He's had a great career, and it's hard to say anything bad about the guy.
No, he's one of my favorite non-Bills players. I'm just really glad he's hanging up the cleats before his career fell off the cliff. Last season, he was still pretty solid, but you could tell he just wasn't where he has been in his career. Just deteriorating. But, it was his age 40 season. He's played a long career. He's done, 18, 19 great seasons. Or I'd put him in my top 5 of greatest quarterbacks of all time. The way he revolutionized that position. For a guy that, they wanted a discount for not being the prototypical sized quarterback, saying he doesn't have the right arm strength or he doesn't have this or that. And he only went in there to probably lead how many times, I don't even lost track of how many times he led the league in passing yards. How many times he led the league in completion percentage. And just the way he transitioned the NFL, he was a transitional member, taking it from the ground and pound NFL of the early 2090s into the air raid style NFL that we're seeing today. He is a legendary landmark player, and it sucks to see him go. It's better for the Bills' chances to win a Super Bowl that he's gone, but then I'm also glad that we don't have to see the worst years of Drew Brees, kind of like what we had to endure with Brett Favre, and some of the other players that try to drag it on farther than they really should. I know he was waffling about actually retiring early on in the season. So I was happy to hear the news that he's hanging it up.
Yeah, he had a hell of a career. So, we'll continue with this. Jake, you got something to say about Taysom Hill?
Taysom Hill. That is the goofiest contract I've ever heard in my life. I guess that's a perfect transition. They don't know what they're going to do at quarterback after Drew Brees. They've relied on him for the better part of 2 decades. Offered him 4 years, $140 million for a a tight end. I know he plays quarterback, but he's a tight end, everybody. He's not a legitimate quarterback. I mean, it's a little bit of contract trickery when you start digging into it. Each year is voidable. But if they keep him around, if he's on the roster, I don't know the full details of that contract, but he could possibly make $140 million, which is insane. Age 30 season, has probably taken 200 snaps total behind center. Pretty wild, and I had like a little fun.
And I will say, speaking of weird quarterback deals, well, not necessarily weird, the one that I'm going to speak on, but one that just happened today. Chicago Bears finally made a deal with Andy Dalton. Not that it wasn't in the news that they were pursuing him. 1 year, $10 million deal. I think a lot of Bears fans were hoping that Russell Wilson might hop on the Bears train after his departure from Seattle. We got Andy Dalton for at least 1 year in Chicago. So I wasn't sure how to feel about that. And I think some Bears fans are bummed, as I said. But
the Bears are kind of stuck in that carousel with Mitchell Trubisky. He was a top 10 pick, and they kind of want to make it work, but it just seems like he's kind of hit his ceiling, or otherwise the Bear system is just not working for him. I think it could be either or, but it kind of sucks for Bears fans. They had that great defense from a few years ago, then they traded away. Oh shoot, I can't remember. Never mind. Moving on. Just got a report. Talk about a lot around the league. This is around the Bills, and I'm going to get into this a little bit more when we get into our Twitter appreciation segment. We have officially signed Emmanuel Sanders, according to Buffalo 13 WAHM. So we're going to have some reinforcements coming into the wide receiver room.
Okay.
Interesting. I've kind of lost track how much cap room they have left in there, but we'll see.
Yeah, no, I have too. We were talking before this podcast that a lot of moves have been made within the last week, within the last 3 to 4 days, within the last 24 hours. But Brandon Beane's got a hold on it. I know for a fact he does. He's clearly working late nights. He's been doing a lot of signings at night. So I love it. I don't know what Emmanuel Sanders will bring to not necessarily the field, but the locker room. I think more importantly, he's considered a veteran player at this point. I don't think that would hurt. And as far as the wide receiver core goes, we got some young guys got out there. It's not like we still have the Robert Woods and the Frank Gores of the Bills yesteryear. But it's an exciting signing. Our wide receiver class is, I think, about as solid as it's going to get going into the 2021 season.
Yeah, I mean, he's in his age 33 season, but it seems like he still has a lot of gas left in the tank. Almost 800 yards last season with New Orleans behind Michael Thomas in that wide receiver room. So definitely, I think we're looking at an upgrade. But, this goes right into our Twitter appreciation. I'm really glad a lot of people interacted with this post. I put out a question, are you okay with the Bills wide receiver room, as is? And do you trust Gabriel Davis as the number 2 wide receiver, as the X receiver? I think it was close to a 50-50 split. There's probably maybe a 60-40 in favor of improvements at wide receiver. So all of you guys that said you wanted a true wide receiver too, we got that with Emmanuel Sanders. He just had a really solid season. He had some great years catching passes from Peyton Manning back from 2013 to 2017. So we're bringing in a veteran, a Super Bowl winner, hard worker. I mean, when I say I don't like it, a lot of people get really offended. It's just having an opinion. I'm not saying I'm smarter than Brandon Beane, obviously. I wanted to see Isaiah McKenzie come back. I think this all but ensures that Isaiah McKenzie is finding a job elsewhere. I don't know how much he's going to get paid. Details of the contract aren't out, but they're running low on funds, and wide receiver is one of the lowest needs for me. I liked that wide receiver room with Diggs, with Beasley, with Davis. I thought they could go forward with those top three and then adding McKenzie for the number 4, work in the competition with the guys they already have in house for the 5th position. But Brandon Bean obviously thought they needed an upgrade, along with a lot of our Twitter followers that engaged with us earlier in the week about this topic. So if unless do you have anything to add, I can read off what some people were saying about the wide receiver position.
No. Other than people, I hope you are continuing to engage with us on Twitter. That is, I think, our preferred style of engagement at the moment, at this current moment. So yeah, just keep hitting us up with these your opinions on these topics, and if you're lucky enough, and if we like you, then we might talk about you on air. So no, go ahead and read some tweets from our lovely followers over on Twitter.
Yeah, I don't know how lucky it is, but at Ronnie Eastman, he put out a really good one. I really like this tweet, and it kind of encapsulated a lot of what the one side of the argument was about adding a true wide receiver 2. And he said, speed is nice, but... Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. At Chris Tweet. This is from at Chris Tweet. And he said, definitely not. He's not okay with the wide receiver room as is. He loves what Davis did as a rookie, but as of right now, he doesn't think he's a wide receiver 2. They need to replace Brown's field stretching ability. That isn't in Gabriel Davis. And a lot of people echoed that sentiment. A lot of people wanted the top end speed. Yeah, would you?
Yeah. You
know, I was a little bit on the opposite. I was trying to keep it open ended. I was a little bit more from this perspective from at Ronnie Eastham. He said speed is nice but overvalued. Wide receiver core is fine. Offense didn't seem to miss Brown all that much when he was out for a good portion of last season. They don't need a field stretcher, and the offense was still putting up points when John Brown was out. And I thought the same thing. I thought Gabriel Davis showed his ability to be the true wide receiver 2. Give him some more reps in that position. Give him some more snaps. He can be a 1,000-yard guy. I thought he said that very well, and I echo that. But now we're seeing the Emmanuel Sanders signing, so some of that goes a little bit out the window. I guess we get an upgrade anyways. I don't know how much of top-end speed he still has at age 33, though. If you're looking for the field stretcher, he was a top-end speed guy. Does he still have that at age 33? He's probably a lower-end, more possession receiver at this point. And then our friends over there at Sipping with the Boys, really cool. They do a great podcast. You guys should check it out. They drink beer, talk sports. So if you want to listen to somebody talk about a little bit more than just the Bills, they're also Bills fans, I think. They can correct me if they listen to this. But they go over there and they do beers like we do, and they talk about the full gamut of different things going around the league, around the sports world.
I mean, it's hard not to like that. So yeah, I would say definitely check them out. And that is at Sippin' with the Boys, SIPPIN with the Boys. And
what they said was they loved what Davis did his rookie year and only hope he continues to improve and gain trust with Josh, but they also need a speedster. A lot of people really want the field stretch and speed. And, I mean, you do too, so why don't you elaborate on why you might want a field stretcher at wide receiver?
Well, it's, I think it has a little bit to do with the Josh Allen factor. The incredible arm Josh Allen factor. He has the ability to, make those really big plays. I don't know if we have a wide receiver other than Stephon Diggs at the moment that is able to really, speed down the field, stretch out at, could be fourth quarter, third and long, to where we need some of those pickups. And it's not necessarily in defense of John Brown. I just think somebody like that would work well with the Josh Allen passing style. He has the arm to get down the field, but also I'm well aware that that's not every passing play, or actually very few passing plays in a single game will be that far down the field. But I think Allen has the capability. You kind of almost, it's a little bit on him, but you also need somebody who can match up with that style of passing, the deep bombs. Somebody who can get there if Allen does overthrow, which he's very well known to do and has been since he's hit the field of Buffalo. So yeah, it'd be nice to see somebody, a speedster, as they say, but. Yeah,
I mean, well, my perspective is, how fast do you want your wide receiver room to be, though? Stephon Diggs is already very fast. He's one of the faster wide receivers in the league already. They just don't necessarily use him they use him a lot more diverse route tree. They use him, they require him to do a lot more technical things as a wide receiver than to do a lot of those flies and a lot of those post routes that you see from John Brown or Gabriel Davis. I think he's offers plenty in the speed department. I don't even think Gabriel Davis, he's not a slow receiver. He's about middle of the road, I guess, as far as straight line speed, but he was getting plenty of separation. Give him one or two moves right at the cornerback, and he was getting open deep a lot last season. I think he's plenty with the speed. Cole Beasley is not a burner like John Brown was, but he's never has an issue getting open. You see him with 3, 4, or 5 yards of separation in almost every play. So I don't know. I think like Ronnie Eastham said, speed is overstated. That 40 time is overstated. We're looking at what sort of football speed do you have? What sort of speed do you have with all the pads on? How are you able to manipulate defenders with your moves, with your hips, with your eyes? I thought we had that. I think we still do have that with Gabriel Davis. I'll reiterate, I don't like this signing of Emmanuel Sanders. I think it's unnecessary. I think it's poor resource allocation. When they're limited with what they have to spend, and you still have some question marks along the defensive line of who can be a top-end pass rusher, who can go and eat up the quarterback for sacks, you're going to spend, I don't know, I'm just throwing out an estimate here, $4 to $5 million for Emmanuel Sanders, maybe more. If it's on par with what Nelson Aguilar got, it's going to be $10 to $13 million. I don't see him taking that much. But still, I mean, that's a significant chunk of money to allocate, again, towards an already full wide receiver room when you probably have bigger needs. But we'll see how that works out. He's definitely an upgrade there. I think he's probably he's more experienced, he's more established, and you know what you're going to get from him. Gabriel Davis, maybe he's a flash in the pan. I'm guessing that must be what Brandon Beane's perspective is he benefited from the scheme, benefited from playing opposite Stephon Diggs, because statistically, Emmanuel Sanders didn't provide anything Gabriel Davis did last year. I just looked it up. This isn't going to be exact, but it was just under 800. It was like 765 yards and 5 touchdowns here in last year with the New Orleans Saints. Gabriel Davis had 699 yards and 7 touchdowns. You guys can fact check me if you want, but I'm pretty sure that's right on. 699 yards and 7 touchdowns. Younger, on a rookie scale.
Yeah.
It's like I just was going through the car. I just bought a new car today, right? And it's about resource allocation. I'm not a rich man. I'm comfortable, not a rich man. So what I'm allocating my resources to has to coincide with the money I'm making, the money I have at hand, how much money I'm willing to put down, how much I can foot, and how much I'm willing to pay down the road in credit. So you can analogize that with signing wide receivers, signing any player on the football field. How much money do you have to pay them this year? Very little. Down payment is very small. So how much credit are you pushing down the road to 2022, 2023? Josh Allen cap hits 2024 at about $45 million. Are you still paying Emmanuel Sanders in his age 36 season? Down the road, we won't know until the contract details come out. But even with the down payment this year, with what you have available, what you have cash in the bank, they should have been spending that money. If they're going to do anywhere for an upgrade, cornerback or defensive line. Cornerback, defensive, they had one of the best passing attacks last season with who we have in-house. Without John Brown, really, for most of the season. He only missed 5 games, but he was barely in for the rest of them. He was hobbled with that hamstring, so I don't know. I hope for the best with him. I hope he gets another 10 touchdowns and 800 yards again. But I'm not too high on the move at this moment.
Yeah. All well said stuff. And speaking of Bill's needs, you also wanted to get into some appreciation for re-signing of some players that has happened within the last week. Specifically Matt Milano, Darrell Williams, and John Feliciano. So you can segue right into that if you're feeling it.
I want to call this my re-sign appreciation tour. Because everyone's really high on Brandon Beane right now. Yeah. Or the running back Bills 2021. I don't know. Whatever catches on. You guys can let me know later. But everyone's
Beane's making deals. Beane's making deals.
Every single one of these contracts was a good, at least $2 million below market value, which is incredible. all for critical positions. 2 on the offensive line, 1 on the outside linebacker with Matt Milano. I love it. I love it. I can't say enough about it. I know I was just railing about Emmanuel Sanders signing, but we're so fucking lucky to have Brandon Beane. We are so fucking lucky to have Brandon Beane. The absolute wizard.
That is our GM.
That's our GM. I'm gonna choke up thinking about it. And I was actually just reflecting. These Patriots fans are getting really annoying. Looking at all of the contracts that Bill Belichick is signing people to right now for mid-level players, which are obviously he's signing to attack the Bills. They're trying to catch up to us. Let's sit and marinate on that for a minute. The New England Patriots, who we've been chasing for the better part of 20 years, are chasing us. They signed 2 of the top tight ends on the free agent wire so they could attack one of our weaknesses from last season, was covering tight ends. They signed 2 highly athletic tight ends to try to come at us. It doesn't scare us. I don't think anyone in Buffalo is legitimately scared. A lot of Patriots fans have a bunch of hubris, thinking that, signing Hunter Henry is all of a sudden going to make them a 12-4 team again, which is outrageous. But it's really exciting. That's a little sidebar. But I mean, what Brandon Beane is doing is the polar opposite. Paying below market deals to get continuity for highly productive players. You got Darrell Williams came back at 3 years, $24 million, only $6.1 million in 2021. You got John Feliciano back at 3 years, $17 million. And then Matt Milano, the creme de la creme, my guy that I've been pounding the table to get back all off season.
Yes, sir.
He's back. They thought he was going to get $15 million fucking dollars a season, right? They get him back at $11 million AAV, 4 years, $44 million. Cap hit in 2021 is only $8 million. I thought I was lowballing. I wrote an article. Maybe we can. I won't post it again. But if you guys want to go to BillsBlitzkrieg.com, you can go read it. I thought I was lowballing with 10.5. I thought people were going to berate me for saying that he's going to take $10.5 million in 2021. Brandon Beane gets him in at $8.0 million in 2021. That's incredible. One of the top coverage linebackers in the NFL. One of the most athletic linebackers in the NFL. A man that is chiseled from marble with his athleticism and his body. I can't fawn enough over his biceps. I'm going to go do some bicep curls just because his biceps are so incredible. We got him for another 4 years. We got him through the prime of his career. That is a great deal. And I don't think, the more we reflect on it, the more you should really like that deal. If you don't like his credentials, I'm sorry, you're just wrong. QBR against in his career, first year 69.5. Year after that, a little bit of a drop, but still 94.5. And then 70.9 this last season, unlimited time. That's cornerback numbers. Those are good numbers for a cornerback. He's doing this as a linebacker. Also, people knock him for not being a good pass rusher. He is a very solid pass rusher, especially when they utilize him as a pass rusher. When he's that good at coverage, you're not going to send him at the quarterback that much, right?
Right.
Still on his career, he has 6 sacks, 25 quarterback hits, and 30 tackles for loss. Very good numbers. Something you're very happy with. He's a guy that goes sideline to sideline, can cover, is a solid tackler. Can't say enough about it. Can't say enough about the Darrell Williams signing. He was the bookend. He was a quiet player, and that's nothing but a compliment for Darrell Williams. You barely saw him on the field, and that's a good thing because he wasn't missing assignments. John Feliciano, a little bit opposite, but it was for the good reasons. You saw a lot of him on the field, but he's a character guy. He is a camaraderie guy. Yes. Esprit de corps was so high. Go ahead.
He's big time locker room guy, big time culture guy in Buffalo. So it's great. So glad to see him come back.
And I thought they would, I thought the wise move would have been to re-sign Butker or Botker. I'm not exactly. I heard people say Butker. I don't know.
Sure.
Because they had relatively same Pro Football Focus grades. Same sacks allowed. I think when you had one or the other on the field, you didn't see much of a difference between them. As long as Brian Winters wasn't on the field, you didn't see a drop-off between Ike Botker and John Feliciano. You probably could have got Botker in for 2 years, $1.5 to $2.5 million, give or take. So they definitely spent a little bit more of a cap hit to bring in a guy was at least comparable in 2020. But I think what you're also paying money for is what you're saying. Big time locker room guy. Big time energy guy. Big time guy. We like to go and see play. We like to see him cradle Cole Beasley to sleep when he scores touchdowns. We like to go see him back up Josh Allen when he's getting attacked by a 280-pound defensive end. He's earned his place for a little bit more than just stats and whatever Pro Football Focus wants to put out there.
Absolutely. So, yeah, super stoked to see not only Feliciano, but all those guys come back. And, we'll be I guess I'll use this as a concluding thought for myself. We'll be seeing hopefully a little bit more happen as we're recording this now. Again, Tuesday, March 16th. So the free agency officially begins tomorrow on the 17th at 4 p.m. So we'll be staying tuned to moves that are made and hopefully updating everybody with that and keeping everybody in the loop, and let's talk about it.
Yeah, I'm going to take my concluding thought to say my farewell to Isaiah McKenzie. I was really hoping they'd get him back, but looks like they're going to go a different direction this season, and trust the process. In Bean, we trust. I'm going to hope for the best. I thought he was a guy that was quite a bit underutilized in his tenure with Buffalo. Every time he got the ball, he made the best of the opportunity. Saw that Miami game. I hope he just torched the alleged number one defense in the NFL. It was beautiful. Awesome.
And it was beautiful. Yeah.
I hope he makes a bunch of money out there, and I hope he keeps torching everybody else except the Bills for the rest of his career. But farewell to Isaiah McKenzie.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's we wish you nothing but the best, Isaiah. I hope you get picked up for a lot of money, as my co-host here said. And living it up maybe in a, I don't know if I want to say a Miami situation, but a Southern situation. You got something for us here?
These headlines just keep pumping in. I don't know if this is the best day to do the podcast or the worst day, because I guess Bean is now just getting to work. He must be out having parties. I don't know what the hell. It turns 7:30 and all of a sudden I'm just getting all these headlines, but they just traded Lee Smith. I'm trying to pull it up. I don't know the details of it. I thought he was talking about retiring.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen any rumblings of that one way or the other.
It just came up, Bleacher Report. It won't pull up. So I'll put it on the Twitter after this, and I'm sure it's going to be passed around. But they got some sort of, there we go. For a late round pick, as all says. Late round pick per league source. Lee Smith is going to the Falcons. Interesting.
Yeah, moves are being made. This is when it gets exciting in the off season. Then we get the draft a little later on, but yeah, we will be sure to keep everybody updated on any forthcoming news with the Buffalo Bills. But I think that's all we have for you on this episode of the Bills Blitzkrieg podcast. All right, I'm going to start that over again. Sorry.
Our name is so hard to say.
I know. It's I feel like I got a mouthful of marbles over here. But anyway, that's all we have for you on this episode of the Bills Blitzkrieg podcast. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Bills Blitzkrieg. Engage with us on there any way you see fit. Like and subscribe on our YouTube page. That helps us out a lot. We want to know who's listening, and we want to grow as a channel too. So nothing bad about that. And last but not least, we have our website, just billsblitzkrieg.com. There you can find links to some cool stuff. We got plenty of articles on there. But either way, if you provide us with some good material to read on air, whether that's in the YouTube comments, Twitter comments, we love it all. You might get shouted out on air like some previous listeners did. But otherwise, yeah, guys, thanks for listening, and we will see you next time.